Okay, now, this chapter? No. This chapter, I would take every day. More, please. Nom, 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 nom. Hello, and welcome back to the couch. We saved you a seat. My name is Luke, and today we're checking out Chapter 6 of Fugitive Telemetry. Yes, this is the 6th chapter in the 6th book of the Murderbot Diaries series. We've been doing chapter-by-chapter reactions and reviews, and today we're doing this one. If you'd like to follow along, you can purchase the book by accessing the link in the description of this video. Buy the book, it helps support the channel. You'll see we've done some other books in there as well. And then also, if you want to continue to support the channel, we have memberships, though the memberships don't necessarily mean much yet. It does support the channel, helps me buy a cup of coffee, keeps the proverbial lights on, helps me buy another book every once in a while, or whatever else we can possibly do with that little extra cash. But, gotta start with this. This is the most human Murderbot has been. The most human. Like, the coolest. Murderbot loses all concern with being considered it's a construct, or enslaved, or governed, or whatever you want to talk about it. Murderbot's embarrassed at the very start, because it's like, ugh. And Murderbot gets put on, essentially, shit duty. Right? Now, does it make sense that it did? Yes. But Murderbot does not like that. Murderbot does not like that, especially like the moment when that random text like, hey, can you come help us lift something? He's like, have that other bot help you. No, fucking, who's that? And that's the, basically, I mean, beep, but yeah. And the other bot's like, that bot's a little bit too big, and finally Murderbot caves. It's so, human. It's so human. I mean, we began this series where Murderbot is the complete security unit and it really just wants to watch TV. Kind of reminds me of like a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 3-year-old just watching Saturday morning cartoons, doesn't want to be messed with. And at this point, it's being treated like a human, or yeah, well, let's just say a human. An augmented human, maybe, but it's being treated as such. It's utilizing its feelings in decision making a little bit more rather than, I don't know, the computer parts. It's really quite good. The thing that I come away with this also is in the later part of the chapter when Murderbot and Enda were like, you screwed up, and you screwed up too, and you screwed up, and they basically just settled their beef. They settled it. And I love that Murderbot was like, we need a quiet space to talk. Mensah, we need your quiet office. Right. And Mensah's like, sure. And the assistant helped them. They got in. Mensah bowed out. Said, whenever you guys get settled with whatever you got to settle, let me know. Later. And Murderbot's like, good. And Murderbot finally like gives into the what for. And he just like, you're a screw up too. But I love that page that Murderbot finally comes to the conclusion. And I usually don't appreciate massive exposition dumps like this, but it's page 114, and it begins with, so the working theory. Lutrin was supposed to be the contact, but this group of 10 people, slaves, didn't know who Lutrin was. So Lutrin was abducted and murdered earlier and then disposed of, right? And then the 10 victims were put into a container, a module, and then the module was going to get transferred to Lutrin's ship, but instead of getting transferred to Lutrin's ship, it went to another ship. This other group, the Brihar Walham, or we'll call them the BWH, right? So this group has orchestrated this re-thefting, and I think their only actual failure is not understanding the station protocol for preservation. That's really their only problem. Had they not known that they were going to shut down the docks and then they were going to halt all transports, they would have gotten away with it. For sure. Because they had everybody screwed up. They had Murderbot screwed up. They had Enda screwed up. They had Mensah on the fritz. They had everyone. And what is interesting to me is, had the Grey Chris thing not been in the background, I don't know that it would have been even that big a deal. Now, of course, they wouldn't have had SecUnit there and blah, 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 blah. But still, the Grey Chris thing being in the background elevates security, elevates the alertness of every group, of every type of person. So we really get Murderbot's personality out in full force here. It's pretty good. Chapter 5 was good. This one felt intense. It felt like a movie scene as it went from one place to one place to one place to one place. And I love that we got this logic from Murderbot. That whole page of just like, well, this happened, and this is my running theory, then this happened, then this happened, then okay, well then there had to be someone on the inside. There has to be. There's no other way. There's no other way. Also, this group was organized, right? This was a plan. So while I think we're going to have some really cool action sequence in Chapter 7, where Murderbot is going to go onto the ship and free these refugees, and it's going to be a cool scene. What I'm super excited to see is we've not seen adversaries be this thoughtful in this series yet. This is thoughtful, right? We're talking about like an organization that runs slaves away from a mining colony, and they have to they connected, like they only have names, context, like all of that is really smart. They don't want everyone to be connected. In fact, it's intentionally compartmentalized, right? But this mining colony has figured out the situation and where they were getting picked up from, the refugees at the mining colony, and where they were getting dropped off and dropped off and dropped off. See, we don't know where preservation is in that chain of compartmentalization. They could be chain link 2. It could be chain link 4. We don't know. We think it could be they're the first chain, maybe, and that's the assumption. Right now, they're at the beginning of their journey to becoming free from their servitude, but we don't know. This team that's working with this mining colony is no joke, right? They're far more equipped to doing this job than what we thought. They have to be. They have to be to know who Lutrin is. They have to be to know how to get around station security. So all that being said, that's all story stuff. Let's talk about the personal stuff. We see a lot more from Inda. Okay? See a lot less from Aelin. I think Aelin has a good relationship with Murderbot, personally. And I think it's funny to see Aelin be like, these are children bickering over whose fault it was. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. We gotta move forward. This is a good chapter. I'm like pretty hyped. I know you can tell by my energy. I'm pretty elevated here because you also get introduced to the inner workings of the bots there in that first part where Murderbot is with a team they're looking through storage space in old parts of the station, and it has a conversation. What does it call it? A jolly bot? Jolly baby? Yeah, it's called a jolly baby, and they don't think it's a joke. And Murderbot's like, buddy, that's not funny, and I don't make inside jokes. And then they double down on it. He's like, no, but that's really not funny now. Like, what are you doing? It's very interesting. That was a cool part too. I'm glad that's in there. You need those parts of levity because then we get to someone from the comm said, oh, a module's missing. And that immediately, you know where that got me? That got me like the very first scene of Daredevil on Netflix, the first season, not this most recent season, where it's not maybe the first scene, it's in the first episode, where Daredevil shows up and there's a container with a bunch of they've trafficked women, and Daredevil dispenses with all the guards and he beats the tar out of them, and then he lets the women out, and then he threatens the person who's kind of running the whole gig, the bad guy, and it's really, really cool. This is that same thing. A container is attached. Now, you know, the book goes out of its way to explain like these refugees could live in this container for a while, but not forever. Like maybe a day, right? Now, could they have installed some life support? Maybe, but that would have taken some time and preservation would have noticed, right? So the whole goal was to take this container and put it on Lutrin's ship, and Lutrin didn't make that appointment. Right. So we'll see. The implications from this are are interesting. I am so curious as to who it is on the inside. Or was it just some sort of combat unit? right? It has to be somebody who knows SecUnit's there. Maybe it doesn't need to know that Murderbot's there. It doesn't need to know that, right? Because whatever they did, they definitely hacked the system now. Murderbot was like, no, they didn't hack the system. It checked. And then it was like, well, there had to be somebody on the inside, and they had to hack the system, or we would have caught them already. So, yeah. I don't think it was Inda, and I don't think it was Aelin, and I don't think it was Mensah, obviously. I don't think any of the... Maybe some of the bots were in cahoots with this group, this mining people.Maybe? But they said it was 15 signatures, right? So maybe that's the 10 and the 5 from before. But I'm just incredibly curious as to how this went down. And I love the moment where Murderbot figures out that if this group finds out that the security team on preservation knows what's happening, they're just gonna run. I would too. What are they gonna do? Call the cops. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I love that Murderbot said, you know, most stations, if there was a murder, they wouldn't shut down the entire dock. Why? They don't need to. But this is preservation. And preservation was dealing with Grey Chris. And so those on top of each other elevated security. I know I already mentioned that. Yeah, I was pretty pumped for this. It's pretty pumped. 5 and 6. Good chapters. I don't expect 7 to be as good. I expect there to be a lot of action. I expect there to be a lot of interesting, like, combat and combat results. We had a few times where there was combat and combat results that were different. We had the time where Murderbot co-piloted a ship to fight off that malware in, I think, book 4. We've had Murderbot versus combat units, combat sec units. We've had Murderbot versus combat bots. But now we've got Murderbot against unknown entity on ship. And how's it going to get onto the ship? And what are going to be the results? Are they going to find out that this group is funded by so many, like, pro-slavery groups? By the corporation? By the corporate rim? Probably. I'd guess so. Right? Because they want just as much of the refugee freedom, this organization that removes refugees from, they'd want that to stop immediately. Everyone. It benefits everyone within the corporation rim for that to stop. So who's funding this? Because I don't know that the mining colony is funding something this specific and thoughtful. I mean, this was an organized attack. It was tactical. It was strategic. So, boy, we'll see. We'll see. I, once again, admittedly, not the best reader in the world. Don't pick up everything. So if I miss something, please, mention in the comments. But, there's only, I don't have time today. I wish I could read the rest of this right now. Just to know how we're going to get Murderbot onto that ship. And and how we're going to free these things. Because I'm not concerned about Murderbot with, combat against other groups. I am concerned about Murderbot getting onto the ship. Right? Because the ship can't know that the security within the Port Authority and the security within the station knows that it's there and knows it has the extra module. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think that's all I've got. So, if you like this content, please like and subscribe and share. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. It would be very helpful. And on top of all of that, if you want to join the membership and support the channel, you can. If you want to support the channel another way, we've got Amazon links in the description of this video to books. You can use those links to buy whatever it is you would already buy on Amazon. It helps me out just a little bit with commission, and it supports the channel, and I think that'd be really, really thoughtful of you. But yeah, we're going to jump into this some more. So, can't wait to see you, and let us know in the comments what you think. But until next time, later, taters.